Welcome to Off With Their Headlines. I am Meredith Constant here with my co-host, the beautiful, the dewy, are you wearing a striped shirt a la Kate?
It's
Amanda Matta.
It is a striped shirt dress, which I used to think was quintessentially Meghan. Yes, now it's quintessentially Kate too, because her style evolution continues to roll on down the road.
And boy, did I love seeing days on end of comparisons of those brown striped shirts.
Listen.
It's okay. I'm sorry. I'm irritable because it's hot. It's very, very hot. And we just recorded our Patreon. Spoiler alert, Amanda is 2 glasses of rosé in.
2.5, because I've kind of just been topping off as soon as it gets like down to here. It is not the As Ever rosé. It is a dupe that I believe is reasonable, but you'll have to go over to the Patreon to figure out what it is.
And we didn't just talk about booze. We also discussed the sovereign grant and the duchies and what's coming out of reporting on how the royals make their money. We also discussed the As Ever, I don't want to say fallout. It's not fallout. It is just saga, sure. You know,
ongoing,
what's happened since.
I mean, listen, the brand is building up. The press coverage continues to swirl and grab onto every little snafu.
It's exhausting. Stop it. Stop it. And we also discussed the French visit. All the French came.
We discussed the French. Yeah, the French state visit to the UK kicking off on Tuesday. It is lasting for 3 days. So we only got a little bit ahead of recording to discuss, but boy, what a topic. Kate was in Dior.
And I think every one of these, it's weird. I say, you know, Royal Sovereign Grant, suddenly Amanda is topping off the wine. And then I'm like, hey, we want to hear about this really dumb tweet. And she's like, yeah. she's like taking the cork out with her mouth and getting another bottle going.
I'm planning a wedding and I'm planning a honeymoon and I'm running so many creative outlets.
Guys, she's a boss bitch and she's tired. And so, you know, actually, I have a wedding present idea for everyone. Leave a review over on Apple. Leave you know, preferably a nice one, a positive one, a 5-star one. You know, leave a little review. That would be a really nice wedding present for Amanda. And also go check out our Patreon. We have a really wonderful free community. We also have early releases, ad-free, special Patreon exclusives, video. Everything is over there. So go check it out, patreon.com/offwiththeirheadlines.
We do have a tier also if you would like to get a handwritten thank you note from both me and Meredith, but mine come on my wedding thank you note stationery. There's a tier for that too, so go check that out.
Okay, well, I'm going to make divorce stationery.
You should. Why has that not been invented? Meredith X Rifle Paper Co.
Watch out, Etsy. Here I come. No, but I send mine on a card featuring my favorite flower, which is the hydrangea. So it's very cute too. It feels very on theme. But anyway, today our theme is something that we've been discussing for quite some time. And it is royal heirs around the world, because while there is so much coverage of what a future King William will be like, there's other heirs that are coming up around the world too that will be among his peers. So we really wanted to dive in and look at some of them. And before we get started, we just want to thank our super sleuths. We have Allison and we have Amy. I am the only M. I'm going to change my name to Meredith, just so I can join the club. But thank you guys so much for helping us with the research and pulling this together. It is so appreciated. So who should we get started with?
Should we popcorn back and forth? I have 3 and you have 2.
Let's popcorn back and forth.
All right. Let me start with, I think everybody's favorite, Princess Caterina Amalia of the Netherlands, aka the Princess of Orange. She is the next in line to the Dutch throne, and she made headlines recently for actually a horse-related injury, Meredith. It's wild. They just keep happening.
Someone should check. These horses are targeting royals, and I think it's time someone said something.
Yeah. So Princess Amalia, it was reported on June 10th, had fallen from her horse Mojito, resulting in a broken arm that required surgery. She underwent surgery. She was in the hospital for 2 days after suffering a fracture in the upper arm. That's rough. That's
God.
And then 8 days later, she was back on the scene. She was wearing a sling, but she appeared at a military engagement with her father. She was accompanying him to present a new standard to the aptly named Princess Katerina Amalia Hussar Regiment. So the photos, the videos from this engagement were very endearing. I think it's safe to say that the Dutch royals, they're not super popular. Like as an institution, they are one of the more expensive monarchies in Europe. But Amalia, she's appealing to many people. She's a young woman. She was born in 2003.
Oh my
She
God.
I know, right? Isn't that kind of insane actually now that she's 22.
Wow.
Yeah. And she's on deck. She's next in line to succeed her dad as Queen of the Netherlands. She would also become Queen of the so called Dutch Caribbean, Aruba, Curacao, and San Martin. Saint Martin.
It's got to be
Again,
a little colonization thrown in there, but you know
yeah.
what? Sure.
Yeah, she went on her first official royal tour with her parents back in 2023 to the Dutch Caribbean. The timing of this was so interesting because I think it was it right after? Yeah, it would have been right after Will and Kate's Caribbean tour, which didn't quite hit the mark when it came to addressing the legacy of colonialism. This trip was a little better. There were some protests that the royals were met with along the way, and King Alexander did make an effort to sort of address the legacy of slavery by the Dutch, specifically in the region. So I think people, if they have this negative attitude towards the Dutch monarchy, it's not necessarily because of who the royals are, it's more because of the institution.
Was this the same institution that issued an apology at some point for their history involving slavery? Am I thinking of the right
Yes.
royals?
After this tour to the Caribbean in 2023, King Willem Alexander actually did apologize for the Dutch role in slavery. He said, "Today I'm standing here in front of you as your king and as part of the government, apologizing myself. I'm asking for forgiveness for the crystal clear lack of action." He was basically saying that, quote, "The monarchs and rulers of the House of Orange took no steps against slavery." He called it a horror. He said that he wanted to work on healing, reconciliation, and restoration. So, as far as royals acknowledging the legacy of slavery, like that's a pretty good example when you consider that a lot of modern royals aren't actually acting on behalf of the government. They are merely those figureheads. They can't really make vast sweeping changes.
And I remember this because I don't know if it was before or after the Cost of the Crown series, which really showed the way in which the royal family has for quite some time benefited from charters and treaties involving the sale of enslaved people and the kidnapping, right? So I just remember that this was around a time where I feel like Charles was being pressed to say something and maybe he said something, but it wasn't quite an apology. And then
It's never an apology. Yeah.
this happens, and everyone is saying,
Look over
why
here.
couldn't you just do
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. Well, yeah. And the argument is always the government has to take the position to offer any apology. The royals can't do it. The closest they've gotten is Prince William saying slavery was abhorrent and should never have happened. But that doesn't change the fact that these monarchies, Dutch, British, they are built on the legacy of colonialism and slavery. They would not exist, full stop. They would not be as lucrative institutions. The private wealth wouldn't be there if slavery had not happened. So it's a really, really fraught issue, especially if you are like thinking about an apology as something that needs to be offered, which I would argue is the first step. That
Yeah,
shouldn't be
at
the
the
last
bare
step.
minimum,
Right,
yes.
right, right. So that is something that Amalia has been embroiled with she was with her parents when there were some protesters on that trip that kind of confronted them to their face about this issue. So that's one piece of her public persona. As a result, the public sort of recognizes that she's very dedicated to her role. She's getting, I would say, more comfortable in the spotlight over the years. She dealt with some issues of body shaming in the past. She is, I don't even want to say plus size. She's just like an average size 12, I would say,
Yeah.
for right, like a young woman. She experienced a lot of trolling and fat shaming, even by tabloids. Like a Portuguese
Gross.
magazine really loved to go hard on her. Many members of the public have, called this out, but it has to take a toll on a
Yeah.
person. She also, I don't know if you remember this, Meredith, she started studying at the University of Amsterdam in 2022. She was going for her Bachelor of Science in politics, psychology, law, and economics. But she had to move back into the palace because she was receiving threats from organized crime. So she was living in student housing. She had foregone her royal allowance. That was also like widely applauded. But I believe it was the Moroccan mafia
My God.
I know, was threatening to kidnap her. In April 2024, the family publicly addressed this, and the king revealed that Katerina Amalia had lived in Madrid under the protection of the Spanish royals from 2023 on so that she could continue her studies online.
My God.
Isn't that insane?
Imagine I'm not gonna be at class today because the Moroccan mob is after me.
They were, like, involved with drug trafficking as well, like, it was nasty. So
Well, that's
that,
horrifying.
again, has to take a toll on you as you're coming up in the world. She has started undertaking public duties. Her first solo trip abroad was in October 2023. She attended Prince Christian of Denmark's 18th birthday. That was very glam and very fun in Denmark, obviously. But she's taken on more of these public facing duties as time has gone on. So I love Amalia. I think she's like my princess girl crush I've described her as in the past. I can't wait to see more from her in the future. And she will join a long line of Dutch queens. I think it's her grandmother, great grandmother, great great grandmother even might have all been reigning queens, if I'm like remembering my history correctly.
So are they a monarchy that works as in once the sovereign dies, she takes over, or is there a history of renouncing the crown? You know what I mean? Abdicating, excuse
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, there is, I would say, a very strong history of abdicating. Queen Beatrix of the Netherlands abdicated in 2013. And she's the one that gave the throne to her son, King Willem Alexander, who is Amalia's dad. Now that that's kind of ingrained in their history, I believe Beatrix also came to the throne because her mother had abdicated.
Okay.
They can like time it nicely when you involve abdication in your succession.
Oh,
It's
that's a
I
good
don't know.
point.
I kind of
It
think it's
made
a
me
good
think of the
model going forward.
I think so too, because it made me think of Trooping the Color, which is technically a celebration of the
Yeah.
monarch's birthday, even though
You can
Charles's
turn it
birthday
into a
is in
celebration. It
November.
doesn't have to be sad.
Yeah, and that's I think the difference that you see with some of these royal families that abdicate and have that ingrained is that it's not this somber occasion, it's this joyous occasion, but I also think and I wonder how it impacts how the press talks about each of the royals and how siloed the royals are because you're kind of continuing the reign of your parent. And while you might do things differently, they're also there to help lead you and guide you and
Right. They
be a
can
part
still
of your
undertake official
reign.
duties. Yeah,
Yeah. And
definitely.
yeah, it seems like a less hostile way to run the family business.
Oh, for sure, less cutthroat. The media isn't necessarily kind to the Dutch royals. I wouldn't say it's a hostile landscape, but, you know, they're not above critiquing the monarchy, especially I remember it was, I think, during COVID when they did, like, their version of Trooping the Color, which is called King's Day. It is the king's official birthday, but really what it is a street party where the Dutch go out into their cities, and there's this big open market. You can sell your shit on the road, and, like, you have dancing and food. So the Dutch royals typically will appear at one of these street parties, and I think it was one of those events during COVID where they got really criticized for the optics, and they had appeared at the
Yikes.
state opening of Parliament in like a gilded carriage, which they have since stopped using. So they are able to read the room, even if they do. I mean, Queen Maxima, queen of luxury fashion, let's be honest. And Amalia has made no secret that she loves tiaras. She's like talked openly about it. She loves to raid the royal vaults for a tiara moment.
If you have tiaras, you might as well use
Okay.
them.
That's not what you're going to be spending money on. You're going to be spending money on the new clothes and keeping the carriage running, you know? So, yeah, I'm all for it. She is one of my favorite royal heirs for sure. I got all the fun heirs. Meredith has the like hard hitting newsy ones to discuss.
Yeah. And so many
Sorry.
different
Sorry about
pronunciations
it.
of William is what I'm learning because
Yeah.
our next heir is Guillaume. It's
Guillaume.
spelled Guillaume. It is a form of William.
French William.
French
Guillaume.
William. It's French William. It's Guillaume. Guillaume is the hereditary Grand Duke of Luxembourg. And we actually already know when he will ascend to the throne. It's this October. He is roughly the same age or the same age as William, Prince William, non-French William. He is 43. A little background on Guillaume. He is the eldest child and has 4 younger siblings. He did get married to Belgian Countess Stephanie. It has an accent. You know
Stephanie.
what?
You can say Stephanie.
It's Stephanie. Okay, it's Stephanie. He
Oh,
married
they're so
Stephanie.
cute. They're so cute. Have you seen a picture of them?
They're adorable. They are adorable. Their civil wedding took place in October of 2012, and then the religious wedding took place the next day. And they have 2 sons. The first was born in 2020. So I didn't get to see any coverage of if there was any concern over the lack of a royal heir because,
It was a long time. Yeah.
that's a long time. But
yeah.
listen, we have an heir and a spare, so everything is good. And what's different from French William versus UK William is abdication is part of their tradition. And it was announced last year that his father would be abdicating the throne in October of this year. So Guillaume has had a lot of time to prepare for it. And in the tradition of many royals, he grew up and he served in the military and did things like that. But he also was an intern with Belgian Chemical Union and with Deutsche Bank, and he has worked at the European Commission and permanent representation of Luxembourg at the European Union. That was in 2012 when it was in Brussels.
It's so interesting to see this like professionalization of being a royal heir,
right?
Which kind of happened after, I would say, Prince William came up, because Prince William went to the University of St. Andrews, and he originally majored in art history. He only switched to, I think his degree is actually in geography, but he switched after 2 years. Like, he did not go into schooling with the intent of like having all this experience. We can talk about Amalia again, who majored in politics, psychology, law, and economics. And here, Guillaume also getting that economic backbone to his work experience. The military is part of it that William has dabbled in. But like, as far as professional experience, the British really approach it as like, you'll learn on the job. It's fine.
It's very different. And also from the standpoint of being, I don't know, perhaps a global statesman, he's
arrived late to the game, I have to say.
Yeah, but Guillaume was representing Luxembourg to the European Union in Brussels in 2012. So they really, it's almost like they get the involvement and the kind of, if you were planning, if you knew from a young age you were going to be president one day, it's almost like these are all the things you would kind of do. These internships, studying these certain things, getting involved in X, Y, and Z. He's also very invested in humanitarian work, reforestation. But what's interesting is now that his father is going to be abdicating, he's now assumed a number of his father's constitutional powers. The Grand Duke can hand these over at any time. So some of those examples are swearing in of ambassadors, the signing of the Grand Ducal decrees, and that's usually the first step towards abdication.
It's like a ramp up.
Yeah, it's like a ramp up. And what's really cute is I think someone asked him how he was feeling, and Guillaume was like, stressed.
Yeah, because
it is stressful, but there is this handing over of some of the responsibilities, and your father is going to abdicate, and then he is still going to be around to guide you. And voluntary abdication has become an informal tradition. The Grand Duke Henri served as the lieutenant representative for his father, Grand Duke Jean, for nearly
French.
3 years before he ascended to the throne on October 7th
3 years
in 2020.
Crazy. Okay.
Yeah. So there is this tradition of recently of voluntarily abdicating in October. So it just seems like a more pleasant way
I like it. Yeah.
to do things. And I think Guillaume is an interesting comparison because he is the same age as Prince William. And just kind of looking at the way he's been preparing to be to be Grand Duke one day. And the fact that he already has some of the powers. It's not, one person trying to hold on to power as long as possible. It's slowly transitioning some of the work to get him prepared and get him ready for the job, which makes sense. I mean, the more I've researched these heirs, the more the system in Britain doesn't make a ton of sense.
No, I was thinking about this as well. Like, the system in Britain is so, I even think about like not educating your spare because, well, it's not your turn yet. Like, Princess Margaret always complained she didn't get a good education. Prince Harry complained he didn't get a good education. It's like, wouldn't you want to be investing in that person, like, just in case? Because we've seen in not so distant history that spares sometimes have to step up. There really is this culture of like, well, it's the chosen one who has this calling from God. They're divinely appointed. And it's almost like because of that, they'll just figure it out. They don't have to
It
prepare for it
also
in this very
almost feels
formal
like
way.
they're working from this ancient mindset of,
Yeah.
your son or your cousin could behead you at any, and overthrow you.
So don't give
As
them too much power.
as if this isn't like a very peaceful transfer that
Right.
happens. It's not. It almost feels like they're operating from a very medieval, ancient
It's a
state of.
paradigm shift that needs to happen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it does feel like that creates hostility between the houses and silos
Uh-huh.
between the houses. And especially when you have these courtiers that are set up like I need to protect my person, even if that means cutting off or not fully preparing the next in line. It just seems like it just seems really outdated when you look at how other royal families are abdicating
Mhm.
or it's a new tradition that
Yeah.
they've
They're
taken
sort of
on.
installing. Well, over in Spain, the next monarchy I think we want to discuss, I have a question of whether abdication will become a tradition moving forward or whether they're going to go back to the old model of the monarch dies and then the next person steps up because the current heiress presumptive, a lot of queens on deck in Europe, I have to say.
Hell yes.
In Spain is Leonor, the Princess of Asturias. She is the eldest daughter of King Felipe and Queen Letizia, and she was actually born during the reign of her grandfather, King Juan Carlos I. Now, Juan Carlos, I think I feel a deep dive coming on, much like we did with the Greek monarchy. There was some shady shit, I have to say, which led to him abdicating. I believe he had like embezzled some funds
Oh,
and he's been exiled. He was
shit.
only recently allowed back in Spain and he handed the throne to King Felipe. So when Leonor ascends to the throne, she will be Spain's first queen regnant since Isabella II, who reigned from 1833 to 1868. But we have to also wonder if she will be the next royal to be handed the crown after an abdication. What will her father decide to do, given his counterparts in Luxembourg, in the Netherlands, kind of embracing? I mean, even Denmark now at this point embraces abdication as kind of the thing that you do.
How old is she?
Leonor is born in 2005, making her 19 years old, going on 20 this October.
It's so
Young.
wild to think about just the different age
Generations.
generations of heirs,
Did you ever see? I'm going to make this the image of the episode. Hang on.
Oh my gosh, I'm really excited.
I'll text it to you too so you can look at it. The portrait of the royal heirs in Europe for Princess Ingrid Alexandra of Norway's birthday.
I'm obsessed.
It
I have
is
not seen this. Oh my god, the little boy on
Yeah.
the chair.
So that little boy is Prince Charles of Luxembourg. That is Guillaume and Stephanie's oldest son.
Okay, yes.
And he was like 3 or 4 when this picture was taken. And
That
the
is so
other,
cute.
there's like 3 18, 20-year-old princesses, and then Princess Estelle of Sweden, who I believe was 10 when this picture was taken. That is the next generation of royal heirs.
Yes. This is listen, the
little boy
colors,
on the-
everything is incredible about this
And
photo.
this party happened in 2022. So at that time, King Charles was not King Charles. I photoshopped him in, like, because he was feeling
Shut.
excluded. And it was even, like, I think funnier because you had
Okay, that
old
does
man, baby boy, and then like these
that does
young
need to be
women.
our that
Yeah.
definitely needs
So
to be
that'll
our
be the
thing.
cover of this episode if you have not seen it yet.
And I want to say quickly to the defense of the British monarchy.
No.
I know. But they were dealing with a period where Edward's going back to Elizabeth's
Edward.
uncle.
Okay.
Not Edward.
I
No,
thought
I'm
you were
not
gonna
talking
bring
about
up, yeah.
not my boo. I'm not talking about my boo thing, okay? But no, with Edward and that abdication, which was so negative at the time and volatile and such a basically they managed to exile him because they knew his pain point was that Wallis wasn't being recognized by her title as being married to the Duke, HRH, Duchess of Windsor. And Queen Elizabeth then, her father becomes king. He's the spare. Elizabeth's never supposed to be queen. And then he dies relatively young and Elizabeth becomes queen. And I do think there was the sense that we can't have another abdication or the optics are going to look really bad and people might try to get rid of the monarchy or really seriously consider abolishing it. And we need to have this steady reign But I think at 50 years, like, maybe they could have,
You could have chopped it off,
they
yeah.
could have, but I think there's still that PTSD
For
of
sure.
how the last abdication went that is still fresh in the minds because we're only like 2 sovereigns later,
Mhm.
and maybe that's part of the reason why voluntary abdication is not even a consideration. Now, if William becomes king in the next couple of years, you give him 20 or so years and he's in his 60s, George is in his 40s, who knows?
Yeah, I was thinking about that too because that's, I think, part of why Charles is often labeled a transitional monarch because he's bridging this gap between the old world, that PTSD informed version of the monarchy, and the new, where we have global statesmen and we have William admitting he might not be the head of the Commonwealth someday. That's a thing that happened, which I feel like we don't talk about enough.
No.
It could make its way to Britain. Okay, we got to stop talking about Britain because that was not the point of this episode.
I know, I'm sorry. We'll
No,
pivot
don't
back
be sorry.
We'll
I just
pivot back
think
to Spain. I just think since we talk so much about the British royal
yeah,
family,
no, it's a good point of
being able to
comparison.
compare is super fast. Let's get back to our 19-year-old future queen.
She is a diva. No, she's not actually a diva. She is generally seen as very poised, Princess Leonor, a good symbol of the monarchy's future and potentially a modernizing force. However, currently, if her father has a son while still king, she would be displaced as heir because Spain still operates under a system of male preference primogeniture, which means any boy displaces all the girls in the line of succession. Leonor currently is still kind of in development. She received her international baccalaureate degree. I guess it's a degree, certificate. It's a weird sort of formalized education that a lot of rich entitled young adults embark on. She attended UWC Atlantic College for this international baccalaureate. I believe her younger sister also went there. It's like a 2-year program in Wales, actually. A lot of heirs have spent time there. And then she went into the military in preparation for her role as Spain's commander in chief. She is currently in the middle of her 3 years serving in each of the branches of Spain's armed forces. That would be the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force. She, I think this week, has received her commission as a Navy officer. She just spent like 6 months on a training journey on a ship. So she's taken this seriously. I've seen a lot of social media buzz and photos and videos of her in her naval uniform taking it very seriously. Her father, you can tell, is like very proud of her whenever the royals and the Royal Navy intersect on an engagement. It's very cute, I will say. It's also possible that Leonor has known some of her classmates currently for her entire life because her formal education began at the Escuela Infantil Guardia Real, which is the daycare for all of the children of the Spanish Royal Guard. So I think that's very nice as well.
Okay.
Her parents sent her to the daycare where all of the Royal Guard's children also went. So I think that's smart. Get your heir to like kind of know the people that are going to be around them for the rest of their life.
That is smart. That is smart.
And the Spanish royals, they really, really need this stabilizing force going forward. King Felipe, given the, what's the word I want? I don't want to say debauchery, that feels too strong. But there was this kind of sourness towards the monarchy under the reign of King Juan Carlos. So Felipe really had an uphill battle to combat that. Leonor, at this point, sometimes surpasses her father in Spanish popularity polling. Her public appearances always really get high praise. She is seen as dedicated to her royal duties, but again, she is just kind of on the outset of those. So we'll have to wait and see what kind of global stateswoman Princess Leonor of Spain turns into.
What are the chances that her father has another child at this point? Like, what are the chances that we're going to see an upset?
I think it's slim to none. Queen Letizia is currently 52 years old.
It would be quite hard.
Not impossible. Not
impossible, but
unlikely.
Okay. Because I'm on her side. I'm like, I don't need this little runt, this little newborn coming in and taking this away.
Theoretically, I mean, sure, it could happen, but will it? Probably not.
It's going to make for an odd photo at the next birthday party. Just that little infant just lying on in its little pack and play.
It's so sad. The Spanish royals tend to not attend those big gatherings of European royals as well. They're kind of not isolated necessarily, but kind of like the British don't tend to have these strong family ties to the other monarchies like the way that Sweden and Norway or Denmark and Luxembourg and Belgium do. The Spanish are kind of set apart as
Isn't
well.
that kind of weird, though, considering the fact that the British
Yeah.
all of these
They're just
countries.
kind of isolationist. They don't go to the family parties as much, or they send like the third string royals. Sophie and Edward used to go to all the weddings. Yeah.
I wonder too if it's this idea. I was thinking back to Afua Hirsch's book, British, which talks about the way in which, the UK, the royal family really became this is British. They're British
Mhm.
now,
They're
where
not European.
they're not European. They don't have these Germanic roots. We're going to change their name and
Brexit.
really,
I mean, yeah.
yeah, the nationalism kind of, came through and they are now the British royal family. They don't have these,
Yeah.
forget about these connections and stuff. And I wonder if it's some of that too, of further distancing
Oh, I
from,
think for sure.
you know,
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
like everyone's a cousin.
They're all cousins because Queen Victoria was called the grandmother of Europe. I do have another Victoria later in the episode,
I know. I can't
or I
wait.
can just go into it now if you want me to. I don't care.
What should we do? Well, let's break it up. Let's break it up with a man, a boring man.
All right, we'll throw a man in there. And a man
Won't
who
you think of the man?
has been getting some photo ops with the British royals, namely Prince William.
Yes,
Take it
we
away,
are
Meredith.
talking about Crown Prince Hussein of Jordan. He is 31 years old, so also a youngin. I don't know if that makes him a young millennial, but
A mid-millennial. I mean, I'm a 30-year-old millennial. I think I'm on the younger end.
yes, you're definitely. I'm just like millennial in the middle.
Yeah. If
Yeah.
you can remember 9/11, you're a millennial. I will die on that hill.
Yes, I will die on that hill as well. Maybe not. Maybe not die on that hill. Maybe that's not.
Ooh.
Don't cut it. Don't cut it. The crown prince is the eldest son of King Abdullah and Queen Rania, and he's got a very interesting family history.
Yeah.
There's a lot to dig into. This is another one
Another deep dive.
that could
Yeah.
be a deep dive
Mhm.
because, okay, his father, Abdullah, was not expected to succeed the throne, even though he was King Hussein's eldest son. Because King Hussein had appointed, it's very, I mean, the drama, the family drama, had appointed
Yeah.
his own younger brother, Prince Hassan, who is Abdullah's uncle, the current king, as heir designate in 1965.
In Jordan, that you get to pick your crown prince, essentially.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be eldest born or eldest born son. Shortly before King Hussein's death in 1999, the king replaced Hassan, his brother, with Abdullah. And then Abdullah became king and named his younger half-brother.
Which, like, in theory, I think it's supposed to be a system that allows grown adults to take over rather than babies. Like, you are kind of expected, if your son is old enough and, like, ready for the job, to name him crown prince. But, like, you don't have to.
It does,
which I think leads to these family intrigues.
It also makes me wonder if the whole idea is that, and maybe it doesn't work this way in Jordan, but typically it's this line of succession. It's in the blood and in the order that children are born in that tells us.
That's kind of a very Western.
Is that more Western?
I think I would think it's more Western.
I can't say that. Yeah,
they do have these very strong family ties, cross the generation, because whenever they get together for a wedding, the family photo is just huge. It takes like 3 Instagram slides to get everybody in.
There is a lot of things going on there. In November of 2004, King Abdullah removed his half-brother from the title of crown prince.
And Hussein would have been young. He would have been like 10.
Yes. So he's young, but the Constitution of Jordan then kicks in if you don't have someone assigned. It goes to the eldest son.
Okay.
So then it goes to the firstborn in the line of succession.
So he didn't like appoint his 10-year-old son. It just like happened to be him.
Yes.
Interesting.
Exactly. So it just falls to him. And so he became the heir apparent.
Okay.
The title was officially conferred, though, on July 2nd of 2009 with a royal decree naming him as crown prince effective immediately. And unlike the king's role, his role as crown prince is mostly ceremonial under the Constitution. The title is not associated with any political post, but he's been fairly political and involved in politics. Just this year, he has been in the UK, like you said, visiting with Prince William. They apparently met to discuss relations between their countries at Windsor Castle, and William spoke of a close relationship. The crown prince's marriage was also the wedding where there was that infamous hurrying Kate along from William. That was that wedding.
It was kind of surprising that Will and Kate were at that wedding at all, but I guess this close relationship that I have questions about, we didn't really see that advertised until, like, William was building his global statesman image, but I feel like that is what led them to attend that wedding
It does
instead
feel
of.
new. It
It is
doesn't,
new,
although
yes.
does didn't Kate's family live in Jordan for a while, or there
They
was some,
did. Yep.
so there might have also been that
There were
connection.
also a
I don't
lot of,
know.
like, money connections.
Yes.
Ivanka Trump was there with what's his face, her
Jared
husband, Jared
Kushner.
Kushner. Trying to think who else. Princess Beatrice also went though because I believe she is also friendly with Crown Prince Hussein. So just an
Interesting.
interesting group of
He's a
people.
mover and a shaker because he was also with his father in February of 2025 to meet with, I almost said King Donald Trump, and,
Close enough.
close enough, with President Trump. They were there to discuss relations between the two countries. I'm sure that there are money dealings, Trump business dealings also going on if Ivanka and Jared were there for the Crown Prince's wedding. What's interesting is the way NPR framed it is in this article that says Trump pushes plan to take Gaza and relocate Palestinians in meeting with Jordan's king. So there's an interesting relationship there. Trump says that they are close. Who knows if that's true or not, but clearly we are bringing the crown prince along to prepare him for these global relationships that he has
Well,
to have.
and those global statesman type events in the past year for the Jordanians, especially, have been really focused on Palestine because, I mean, Queen Rania was born in Kuwait, I believe. And so that's a region she takes a lot of interest in. She has been making a lot of humanitarian pleas to try and get aid into Gaza for Palestinians specifically. And I mean, from what I know of Crown Prince Hussein and King Abdullah, they will both speak to the UN about the humanitarian crisis there. So
Which not, I mean,
good for you.
we haven't really
Like,
heard that. I mean, if we think
yeah.
about Prince William's statement on Gaza and Israel,
Yeah, very
that
both
was
sides.
very both sides, and no one felt particularly happy
Mm,
because
no.
it just wasn't truthful to anything, really. It's like you gotta kinda stand on
Stand
your
on business.
truth and stand on your business. And the other thing, though, is he is also very good at Instagram. He
Yes.
has, 5 million followers. It's very much see what my life is like. I don't know if he's making jam, but it's a lot of cute photos
He's
behind the
making cute
scenes.
babies, I can tell you
Making
that
cute
much.
babies. Yeah, they have a one-year-old daughter, he and his wife, and he's just showing his life, playing football. It's very like what you think a 31-year-old would post on Instagram, and it's refreshing, to be honest. It's just, here is my life. The other thing, he was at a very popular question mark wedding that happened just recently. It was Bezos's wedding in Venice. He was there with his wife, his one-year-old daughter, as well as his mother, Queen Rania. She is a friend of the bride and the groom, and apparently Queen Rania was invited to join the couple for their quote intimate engagement party
On a
on
yacht.
Bezos's yacht in 2023. So it's interesting, that wedding, how all of these different, sources of wealth or political connections, everyone came in for this wedding, and
We
I
I
can't
don't
imagine the conversations on the side that were happening.
I don't wanna talk any more about this wedding after this, but, like,
Oh, yes.
the fact that it was in Venice and you could not attend this wedding without being photographed is so insidious to me and just tells me, like, Bezos wants everyone in the world to know who is in his corner and, like,
Oh, yes.
who will come to pay court to him. It's Oprah. It's Leonardo DiCaprio, as much as he wanted to hide his face with that
He tried so
stupid ball
hard.
cap. Dude, have some balls,
Like,
honestly.
we know it's you. We
Yeah,
know it's you.
I would recognize those jowls anywhere. But
Someone said it.
it's also royals. So I just found that, yeah, very interesting, a little disappointing when it happened, if I'm not gonna lie, but it's the money talks.
Yeah. Yep. All of these different groups just intersect, and it's a small circle. It's a small circle at the top. So while I wasn't surprised to see the crown prince there, it was like, what are we doing?
Bummer.
But I listen.
Yeah.
I get it, even if I don't love it. So he is set to become the next king. It doesn't look like this will be an abdication situation. That doesn't seem like something that regularly happens in the Jordanian royal family. So it'll probably be on the death of his father that the crown prince Hussein of Jordan will take over.
All right. And last but certainly not least, my favorite heir, author Frederick Bachman's favorite heir, Victoria, Crown Princess of Sweden, also the Duchess of Västergötland. Sure.
Say that 3 times after a bottle of wine.
Yeah, seriously. So she was born in 1977, making her 48 years old. Her birthday is July 14th. So happy early birthday to
Happy early birthday.
Crown Princess Victoria of Sweden. She shares a birthday with my great aunt. It's also Bastille Day. So that's fun.
Look at her go.
She is the eldest child of King Carl XVI Gustav and Queen Sylvia of Sweden. She would be Sweden's fourth queen regnant in their history if she ascends to the throne, as she is expected to do. And she would be their first queen since 1720. So that's crazy.
Wow.
Some fun facts about Crown Princess Victoria and her place in the succession. So she's born in 1977. In 1979, her parents have a son, Prince Carl Philip. So this is her younger brother by 2 years. He was crown prince when he was born because at that time, Sweden had absolute male primogeniture, meaning any boys replace all the girls.
Oh, okay.
However, 1980, an amendment came into effect to the 1810 Act of Succession, which was still kind of governing the line of succession. So this was the first law in Western Europe that adopted the absolute primogeniture, which means the birth order is what we go by: first, second, third, regardless of gender.
Did they take it away from that baby?
They took it away from that baby. He was 7 months old.
Savage.
And he was no longer crown prince. So this meant that the 2-year and some change old Crown Princess Victoria was made Duchess of Västergötland and basically accepted as the heir.
What did the king and queen feel about this?
Great question. So King Carl Gustaf, the line of succession being changed, as far as I know, it was already in the works and it was basically a government initiative. He objected to the reform applying in retrospect. So what he rejected to was the fact that, okay, we've got this new line of succession, and now my son, who is already born, gets replaced as crown prince. He thought it shouldn't be retroactive, but it was.
God.
I know.
That is kind of horrible to know.
Basically, he felt, my son was already given this crown prince title. You should not be able to take it away from him. And like, if we're talking about, okay, I said we would stop talking about the British, but here we go again. The British, when they had their new letters patent in 2012, right around when Prince George was born, that also was not retroactive because that would have messed up the succession and like scrambled around some people, namely Princess Anne. So yeah, so that was not retroactive at that time. So it's just different countries doing different things. But yes, the king of
they
Sweden,
learned some lessons. The Brits learned. They said we don't want that.
So Crown Princess Victoria grows up after a little bit of a shaky start. At 2 years old, she becomes crown princess and she lives the rest of her life as the heir presumptive. I always forget the difference. Hang on. Heir presumptive, because there is a difference.
That is so savage of her father.
Okay, so she lives the rest of her life as the heir apparent. So that is the person who is next in line for the throne, like for sure. If a son is born, they cannot be replaced. The heir presumptive would be, yes, next in line, but kind of like Queen Elizabeth, if her parents had had a son, even though she was next in line, she was never made Princess of Wales in her own right because there was always the chance that Elizabeth Bowes-Lyon could make a son and then he would be Prince of Wales. It's weird. So those are the two different types of heirs. Fun fact. Anyway, so Crown Princess Victoria is another royal with a great resume if we're talking about preparing for your global statesperson duties. She first attended the Catholic University of the West at Angers in France. There she participated in a program following the work of the Riksdag, so getting that like governmental constitutional education under her belt.
Nice.
She lived in the US from 1998 to 2000. She studied various subjects at Yale. She was also an intern in 1999 at the Swedish Embassy in Washington, D.C. So that's cool. And then she returned to Sweden, where she took on this like learning on the job kind of position. She visited Swedish businesses. She participated in a study internship in agriculture and forestry. And she also completed her basic training at the Swedish Armed Forces International Center. So that's kind of her, I would say, undergrad. She does formally graduate in 2009 with a degree in peace and conflict studies from Uppsala University. Before that, however, she had already She had also enrolled in the Ministry for Foreign Affairs diplomat program in 2006 to 2007. That is like a training initiative for future diplomats. So she's getting all of these different.
This seems like very good training.
Yes. And she's not done. In August 2024, and that's not me verbally making a typo, 2024, she took officer training at the Swedish Defense University. She's currently in the middle of that. The training takes about 20 months to complete, and she's learning more about military strategy and tactics, and obviously preparing for her future role as head of state representing the armed forces. So that's great as well. People are taking their
Dang.
roles seriously. We love to see it.
We'd love to see it.
Crown Princess Victoria, a couple episodes ago, this is the person I was telling Meredith I had discussed with author, novelist Frederick Bachman, and he's the one that was like, listen, I wouldn't like the monarchy if it wasn't for her. Like, she is the best person for that job. And most Swedish people agree. I think she has a very high approval rating. She's seen as very down to earth, relatable, very committed to her royal duties. She's highly regarded by the Swedish public and considered a popular figure among European royals. She is,
Wow.
I know. She is also known, she has a fun nickname. She's known as the Godmother of Europe, which I think is a play on Queen Victoria
Yeah.
being the grandmother of Europe. Do you want to guess how many godchildren Crown Princess Victoria has?
17.
18.
What? I was so
You were so close. So among them are like some of the future kings and queens of Europe. I think Denmark, I think Norway. I'm not exactly sure.
This is cool.
Yeah, as well as some like family relations that aren't on the royal side. So she's very well connected. She has also been very open about her personal struggles with dyslexia and anorexia.
Wow.
So the Swedish royals are really great at working in personal struggles to their charitable like efforts. Her younger brother, no longer Crown Prince Carl Philip, also has dyslexia, and he will do events where you'll also see like Princess Beatrice. I think it's like the World Dyslexia Forum or something like that. So I love that kind of integration where you can tell it's personal as well as professional.
And it's so hard to imagine in even with the mental health, kind of initiatives in the UK, but the fact that there is the future queen, right, is upfront about her struggles. And I don't know where I read this, but I think I read at some point that her going to Yale was also to help recover, to go and recover from anorexia or get
Get out of the spotlight, yeah.
and apparently, and I can't find the quote, she thanked the Swedish media for kind of leaving her alone and letting
Interesting.
her heal, which felt out what?
Huh? Yeah,
What?
like I
They
said,
treated her like a human being?
every media sphere is going to be different based on the monarchy they have and the country they work in. So she also is married to a commoner, Daniel Westling, who is her former personal trainer. So this
Classic tale.
yeah, this was celebrated as a departure from tradition and made her seem more approachable and relatable. They have two children, Princess Estelle and Prince Oscar. She is consistently shown to be the most popular member of the Swedish royal family in polls. She even surpasses her father, the king, who is getting up there. I wonder, again, if he's one who might abdicate someday. My guess would be no, but it's a possibility, I guess.
Is she the royal too that's really been upfront about her support for the gay community?
Yes, she is
Okay.
a huge, I don't know if I would call her a gay icon. Her mother, Queen Sylvia, is. So the family has a connection specifically to Christer Lingdar, who is a Swedish drag performer and a fashion designer. And back in the 70s, he had this routine where he would impersonate the queen. And he actually like impersonated her to her face at a big event. And just recently, it was at an event celebrating Christer Lindar's 50 years in the public sphere. She actually surprised him at this event, Queen Sylvia did, like bringing out flowers for him and just like honoring him in that way.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
Yeah, he has designed dresses for the queen, for Crown Princess Victoria, and for Princess Estelle, the young daughter. So I love to see that. You can tell it's like a personal affability and like comfort with the LGBTQ community.
Which is kind of sadly revolutionary.
Sadly rare, yes.
Yeah.
The Swedish royals in general have this history of supporting the queer community. The king and queen famously ate a meal under a rainbow flag at a Swedish restaurant that was owned by a gay restaurateur,
Love
Arto
it.
Winter. So he's an LGBTQ advocate. Crown Princess Victoria has met with queer advocacy groups. She's made that part of her public platform. And she has even given a speech to open Stockholm Pride. I believe it was virtual. I don't think it was in person. But yeah, it
That's
is.
a big deal. That's a
Yes, it
big deal to
is.
have this traditional institution
Mhm.
put their stamp on this and say, "Yeah, no, we mean y'all means all," which I'm sure she said.
And it's not just for pandering, it's, like, genuinely because that's part of their subjects. That's a community that is part their constituency, if we wanna, like, be polite about it. Subjects, I hate that word,
No, I
but
know what you mean. No, that's yeah, I think she might be my favorite too.
she's great, so
I think she did it for me too. I think that's who I select for
alright.
president.
Not that we need to, like, pick one, but
No, I know, but I
they're
really
all
dig
so
her.
interesting for different ways, and they all bring a different lens to, like, the future of what the royal world is gonna look like.
And it'll be interesting to see how they interact with each other and how they maybe inspire one another to be more open about, you know, your platforms or to maybe look at how we're training future kings and queens and what they do to prepare for that and just abdication in general as a way to further the monarchy without someone having to die.
Right.
No, this has been so fun. I learned so much and there's so many new people that I want to deep dive on now that I
Yeah.
think we need to do in the future.
Let's do it. So, we are going to now transition to another story, which is definitely less fun. And we want to give a content warning here for some discussion of sexual violence and assault. So, if you're not here for that, that's fine. Thanks for listening, and we will see you in the next one. But we are going to discuss the son of Norway's crown princess. So, the language here has to be very specific because he is not a royal. He is Crown Princess Mette Marit's son from a previous relationship, and she was the person who married into the royal family. So he has been, well, last August, he was arrested on suspicion of assaulting his girlfriend. Since then, there has been a police investigation which has just wrapped up, and he is now suspected of 23 offenses, including 3 counts of rape. So this story has been developing for quite a while, and this is just the latest development. We still have to hear which of those cases are going to be actually brought to justice. If he's going to be prosecuted with any of those charges, that's the next step here.
I mean, the fact that there was actually an investigation and follow through and
Yeah.
charges feels
So it feels monumental, right? Like
yeah.
momentous. And it's been a long time coming, I will say.
Okay.
Marius Borg Hoybe. Marius has been for many years known to be a person with a temper, prone to outbursts of violence. And it is kind of an open secret that his mother, especially, enables him. I hate to say, shields him from the consequences of his actions. But it seems that this is a case where he will have to face justice in some form. So last fall, he was arrested 3 separate times: August, September, and November. There are now 23 charges against him involving 10 separate women who can be named as plaintiffs if we choose to take these charges further. So,
It just drives me nuts that
yeah.
like one person was too far. In some ways his mother being the crown princess, correct?
Yes, so his mother is the crown princess. She married Crown Prince Haakon after already having Marius, her son.
Yes. So he's not a royal, but he kind of sounds like he lives like a
He
royal
lives
and
like a
has
royal, absolutely.
enjoyed some protection, at least from his mother,
Mhm.
like a royal, like royals that we've seen, but that it finally caught up with him. It's both good and monumental, but also
It sucks that it's gotten this far.
yes.
And he's been able to allegedly get away with what he's been up to for so long. So, yes, to your count about living like a prince, right? Marius actually said in police questioning recently that he receives about 20,000 Norwegian kroner, which is just under $2,000 USD per month from his mother in income. So that's not necessarily enough to fund the lifestyle that he lives. So a
Mm.
lot of people have questions about where the rest of his income is coming from. He also has his own home. I believe it is on crown property, or at least property owned by his stepfather, the Crown Prince of Norway, despite having no formal role in the Norwegian monarchy.
Prince Andrew.
A little
Do
bit.
we?
Yeah. That's
Wow,
kind
there
of
are shades of Prince Andrew here.
absolutely. Now, the charges that could be brought against him include 4 counts of sexually offensive behavior, 1 of abuse in a close relationship, 2 of bodily harm, then 1 count of vandalism, 1 of issuing threats, 5 violations of restraining orders. So the women who reported him for misconduct, some of them have actually walked back their claims, which I also feel really icky about. The woman who was involved in the episode that got him arrested last fall has since rejected the allegations of rape that he has been charged with. So that's, again, I feel icky about that.
Ooh, I don't like any of this.
Yeah.
It's the way we still manage to circumvent justice,
Yeah.
you know?
And then he also has 1 count of insulting a police officer and 5 traffic offenses. So I want to say prince, he's not a prince. Marius's lawyer says that his client is taking the accusations very seriously, but doesn't acknowledge any wrongdoing in most of the cases, especially the ones regarding sexual abuse and violence, which of course you're going to say that, I guess, if you're going to fight it in court. But it does seem like we've been fighting this for a long time, whether it's evading charges being brought against this guy. Allegedly, that seems to be the chatter around him, I will say. And you have to wonder, how much does the royal institution, namely his mother, Crown Princess Meta Merit, play into him evading any of the consequences of his own actions?
And what does happen next? And
Yeah.
is this something where, unfortunately, the hope is that it's, well, they investigated, they had a clean investigation, because we've seen instances with Scotland
I think
Yard
a
and the
10-month
Met
investigation
where,
is good. I think that's a good place to start. And the police are taking this very seriously. I was reading some of the reporting, and on one occasion when he was being arrested, apparently Marius asked the cop, like, who do you think you are? What are you doing? Like, what are the charges? And the cop apparently told him, like, that's above my fucking pay grade. Excuse the profanity, but like, that's what the quote was. Like, so they are kind of just treating him like any guy, it seems like, so far.
well, it'll be interesting. We'll have to keep an eye on how that unfolds, just especially with how we've seen the royal protection come down around other people. And he's in an interesting situation where he's not a royal, but his mother married into the royal
Yeah.
family. So
We'll
we'll
see.
we'll keep an eye on that. But
Yeah.
let's end on a lighter note
Please.
with our obituary. And
Please.
this is mostly yours, so I'm going to give you the floor. But also Jordan, one of our wonderful listeners, always reaches out to us. She'll call it out. And I think today she said, I don't think they have any other kind of camera. So what are we giving the obituary
So today we are giving the obituary to the slow-mo videos, mostly of Prince William, but today it was of Kate as well at this arrival of the president and the First Lady of France to the UK. I am so, every time that Kensington Palace posts a reel, a story, reliably, the second video clip will be a slow motion shot of the principal royal walking towards the camera. And I am so effing sick of it.
I don't know who watched Top Model for the first time and was like,
We
or
might
the Real
have already
Housewives.
mentioned this on the podcast, by the way, but it's still happening.
We did, but it's still happening at such a degree that at this point,
ubiquitous.
You can't make the same video every time.
So
you got to switch it up.
I really do think they don't know how to turn the setting off in their.
You think it's a setting issue?
Equipment. Yeah, I think
someone's
just stuck on slow motion or cinematic or whatever. It's
and that's just what happens every time. Or somebody is getting like having a little too much fun in Final Cut. They just learned like a new technique. Like next we're going to see we're going to see gold and then like the words will appear.
Yeah. Someone's rotating like 18 times before the image comes into focus.
Good job, joining, digital media and social media and being with the times, hip with the kids. But
it's too far. We've gone too far.
Let's speed it up a bit.
I had left a comment on one of the investiture videos because they do this every time William hands out the honors at Windsor, which is part of his, well, it's not necessarily part of his job. It's a job he takes over from his father occasionally. Princess Anne does it too. Every time he does it, it's the same thing. You stand in a room and you give people their honors. They always open with a shot of him walking up the steps at Windsor. And he's got the one hand on his belt and he's
that's the move.
That's the move. Slow motion. And I commented, I was like, how about smiley face. I think I left a smiley face at the end so that they knew I was being non-threatening. How about you tell us who the people are receiving honors instead of a slow motion shot of William? And so many people, you can Google, or I'm British and I know who all of them are. And then there were other people replying I don't know who they are. I actually would really appreciate some accessibility in these captions from the Prince and Princess of Wales.
Because it actually shouldn't really be about William
the
in
social
that
media strategy
situation.
in general, and this is another tangent, so I won't go too far.
Yeah.
Their social media strategy, it's been getting better slowly, but
Yes.
they have a real problem with word salad captions and not giving enough tangible information, especially when they're supporting a charity. They never give information on how you can support yourself. And the one I saw recently, I forget what it was 2 paragraphs, and it was one of them doing an engagement. And the first paragraph started with like, honored to blah, 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 blah. And then the second one was like, thrilled to. And it's just like, can you just talk like a normal person?
It would make such a big difference. I don't know if it's possible, though, at this point
No,
with the
the
way
word
they have.
salad is so ingrained.
Yeah.
They can't
I
turn
think
that setting off of
it's
their
here to stay, but maybe the slow motion camera can die. You know, a girl
Maybe.
can dream. So thank you, Jordan, for reminding that of us between recordings. We were like, oh my gosh, but we got to talk about that. But this has been another delightful episode. I am in summer camp hell, so I'm going to go drive for like an hour and a half.
I'm going to go keep day drinking.
And yes, she's going to drink at home, drink responsibly.
Thank you.
But we do want to quickly shout out our Patreons, our press secretaries that never leave us on slow-mo. Okay. They always shoot us. They always get our lighting, our best side, and we love them for it. That would be Molly, Nikki, Lulu,
and Jessica.
Jessica, I am so sorry. We don't forget about Jessica because it's the Jessica's in the well. And remember, I had to tell you.
You did, yes.
Yes. Okay. Apologies, Jessica. I will make sure to cite you first next time.
If she was in the well, we would not have rescued her because you forgot.
That's true. Well, anyway, this has been fun. As always, be sure to go leave a review over on Apple, preferably 5-star ones. We do enjoy that. And you can go check out our Patreon. If you want to watch episodes a week later, you can do that over on our YouTube. All the links are in the show notes. Amanda, you keep drinking and I'm going to start driving, but not together. See?
We live
not together.
Many states apart.
Yeah. All right. See you next time.
Stay safe, everyone. Enjoy your summer. Me or you?
Welcome to Off With... Jesus Christ. It's that kind of day. So he is the eldest son of King Abdullah II and Queen Rania. No, hold on. Rania? Hold on. The crown prince is the eldest son of King Abdullah and Queen Rania. No, and Queen Rania. Are you gonna...
I'm gonna write it for you for the future, but yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna do it one more time. Rania. Thank you. So what ends up happening is that in November of 2024, King Abdullah removes... Did I say 2024?
Yeah.
Throw me off a building at this point. Okay, sorry. I'm like losing my mind.
You're
sorry.
like getting the vapors of the rosé through the microphone.
Oh my God. It's weird. It's like I'm drunk. Okay. Venice, he was there with his mother, Queen Rania. No, right? Yep. King Rania, who is...
You said King.
I am so sorry about the editing you're going to have to do.
That's all right.
I apologize in advance.
You're doing Patreon, so it's fine.
That's true.